First Contact and Ultimatum. The Crisian Empire had conquered 700 star systems across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way galaxy. Their biomechanical ships, powered by quantum singularities, were considered invincible. Their soldiers, enhanced with cybernetic implants and neural networks, were feared throughout known space. For 6,000 cycles, no species had successfully resisted their expansion. High Commander Nexer stood on the command deck of the Indomitable, his flagship that stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. His iridescent scales reflected the blue glow of holographic displays surrounding him, each showing different aspects of the unassuming blue-green planet they approached. Preliminary scan complete, High Commander, reported Science Director Vexra, her four-fingered hand manipulating the data stream. The dominant species has achieved primitive spaceflight and nuclear capabilities, but remains confined primarily to their homeworld. Nexer's vertical pupils narrowed. Interesting. Another civilization at the perfect stage for integration. Not advanced enough to pose a threat, yet developed enough to be useful. He turned to his second-in-command. Prepare a first contact protocol. Standard intimidation parameters. On Earth, astronomers at observatories around the world simultaneously detected massive objects decelerating toward the solar system. Within hours, every major intelligence agency was on high alert. Emergency sessions were called at the United Nations. Dr. Elena Reyes, director of NASA's Extraterrestrial Intelligence Division, addressed the hastily assembled Security Council. The objects are artificial and massive, each approximately the size of Manhattan. They're slowing down, which indicates controlled propulsion, and they're heading directly for Earth. We estimate first contact within 48 hours. General Marcus Chen of the International Defense Coalition stood. What are our options if they're hostile? Conventional weapons would be like throwing rocks at a battleship, Dr. Reyes replied grimly. Our best hope is diplomacy. 2 days later, the Crisian vessels entered Earth orbit, positioning themselves over major cities around the globe. Telecommunications worldwide were interrupted as High Commander Nexer broadcast his message to humanity. People of Earth, his translated voice resonated from every device capable of audio output. I am High Commander Nexer of the Crisian Empire, rulers of 700 worlds. Your planet has been selected for integration into our glorious dominion. Resistance is futile and will result in unnecessary destruction. Your world leaders will present themselves aboard our command vessel within 12 of your hours to receive our terms. In the Pentagon's crisis room, President Sarah Mitchell conferred with her global counterparts via secure video link. We need to buy time, she insisted. If they wanted to destroy us outright, they would have done so already. They want something specific. Resources, most likely, said Premier Lai of China. Or labor. Perhaps both, added Chancellor Mueller of the European Union. But I agree with President Mitchell. We need to stall while we gather more information. A delegation of 12 world leaders and scientific advisors, including Dr. Reyes and General Chen, was transported to the Indomitable. They were escorted through corridors, lined with armed Crisian guards to a vast chamber where High Commander Nexer awaited on an elevated platform. You honor us with your presence, President Mitchell began, maintaining diplomatic protocol despite the circumstances. Nexer made a dismissive gesture with his scaled hand. Let us dispense with pleasantries. The terms of your integration are simple. Earth will provide the Crisian Empire with 50 million tons of fresh water annually, 10 million tons of rare earth elements, and 5 million human workers for our mining operations on Proxima Centauri. General Chen stepped forward. And what does Earth receive in return? Nexer's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. You receive continued existence, human. Is that not sufficient? While the delegation returned to Earth to consult with their governments, Dr. Reyes and her team had been analyzing the data they'd covertly collected aboard the alien vessel. In her underground laboratory, she excitedly shared her findings with military and intelligence officials. Their technology is advanced, but fundamentally flawed, she explained. pointing to spectral analyses. Their quantum communication system operates on predictable frequency patterns, and their power distribution relies on a centralized network that's vulnerable to cascading failures. "You're saying we could disrupt their systems?" asked General Chen, leaning forward. "More than disrupt," Dr. Reyes replied. "If we can synchronize a specific electromagnetic pulse pattern across our satellite network, we might be able to trigger a catastrophic feedback loop in their entire fleet." "How catastrophic?" President Mitchell asked. "Not destructive," Dr. Reyes clarified, "but severely embarrassing. Their weapons would misfire, their shields would flicker, and their communications would broadcast across all channels unencrypted." A slow smile spread across President Mitchell's face. "In other words, we could make the biggest, baddest empire in the galaxy look completely incompetent in front of everyone." The plan was set in motion. Earth requested an extension of 72 hours to prepare their compliance schedule for the Crisians' demands. Nexer, convinced of humanity's helplessness, magnanimously granted the extension. Meanwhile, scientists worldwide worked feverishly to modify Earth's satellite network and broadcast systems. Military special forces quietly positioned EMP generators at strategic locations. Hackers prepared to infiltrate and manipulate the Crisian communication channels once they became vulnerable. After 72 hours, President Mitchell contacted the Indomitable with an unexpected request. "High Commander, to facilitate our people's acceptance of your terms, we request a demonstration of your power. Our population includes many skeptics who believe this could be an elaborate hoax. A controlled display of your weaponry on an uninhabited region would convince them of the futility of resistance." Nexer conferred with his advisors, then responded with evident satisfaction. "Your suggestion has merit. We shall target your planet's northern polar ice cap. The demonstration will commence in 6 hours. Ensure your global population observes our might." As the deadline approached, billions of people worldwide tuned in to watch what the Crisians believed would be humanity's final lesson in submission. News anchors solemnly narrated as the Indomitable positioned itself over the Arctic. In a secure command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Reyes monitored her instruments, while General Chen maintained communication with Special Forces teams worldwide. President Mitchell stood before a bank of screens, watching events unfold. "All systems aligned," Dr. Reyes reported. "Satellite network is primed. EMP generators are charged and ready. Hack teams standing by," added the cyber warfare commander. On the main screen, the Indomitable's underside began to glow with accumulated energy as its main weapon prepared to fire. The moment had arrived for humanity to reveal whether they would be conquered or would outwit the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. Humanity's ingenious response. The underside of the Indomitable pulsed with increasing brightness as its singularity cannon, capable of vaporizing a mountain range, charged to maximum capacity. Aboard the flagship, High Commander Nexer addressed his crew with satisfaction. "Let these primitives witness true power," he declared. "Begin the firing sequence." The moment the Crisian weapons system initiated its final sequence, Dr. Reyes gave the signal. "Activate now." Across Earth, satellites simultaneously emitted precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses. Special Forces teams activated their EMP generators. The pulses were invisible, but targeted the exact frequency vulnerabilities in Crisian technology. Aboard the Indomitable, alarms blared as systems began malfunctioning. "Power fluctuation in the primary coupling," shouted a technician. "Singularity containment becoming unstable." "Compensate," Nexer ordered, his composure slipping. "Fire the weapon." The massive warship shuddered as its weapon discharged, but instead of the concentrated beam that could devastate continents, a spectacular but harmless light show erupted from the ship. Multicolored energy scattered in all directions, creating what looked like an enormous cosmic fireworks display. On the ice below, not a single molecule was disturbed. In the command center, General Chen couldn't contain his laughter. "Look at that. They can't control their own weapons." President Mitchell watched in amazement as the Crisian flagship drifted awkwardly, still spewing random energy patterns. "Dr. Rice, you're a genius." "Phase 2, Dr. Rice announced, nodding to the cyber warfare team. On Earth's networks, people watching the embarrassing display began seeing translated Crisian communications. The hackers had broken into their now vulnerable systems and were broadcasting the aliens' panicked internal communications to every screen on the planet. Emergency power to stabilizers. Containment field failing. The humans have done something to our systems. High Commander, our communications are being intercepted. Most devastating of all, the transmission was being broadcast across the Crisian communication network, reaching all 700 worlds in their empire. For the first time in millennia, the supposedly invincible Crisians were being witnessed in a moment of humiliating failure. Nexer's scales had paled to a sickly yellow as he realized the extent of the disaster. "Cease broadcast. Shut down all communications." "We cannot, High Commander," his communications officer replied. "Our systems are responding to external commands." The cyber warfare team had gained access to the Crisians' fleet control network. One by one, the warships positioned over Earth's cities began to display similar malfunctions. Weapon systems firing harmless light shows, propulsion systems causing the ships to drift in erratic patterns, and in several cases, the external communication systems broadcasting the increasingly desperate internal communications of the Crisian commanders. On 17 worlds across the Empire, subjugated species watched in disbelief as their fearsome overlords floundered helplessly against a species they had dismissed as primitive. Within hours, reports reached the indomitable of uprisings beginning on outer colony worlds. "High Commander," Science Director Vexra reported, her voice tight with fear, "the Arcturian Confederation has declared independence and seized our regional headquarters. The Procyon systems are in open rebellion. We're receiving reports of similar uprisings in 43 star systems and counting." Nexer slammed his fist on the command console. "Impossible. How could these humans have known our vulnerabilities?" 3 days later, a very different meeting took place aboard the Indomitable. President Mitchell led the Earth delegation, but this time they weren't escorted by armed guards. They walked freely, accompanied by their own security detail. Nexer awaited them, his posture notably less imperious than before. "President Mitchell," he acknowledged stiffly. "High Commander," she replied. "I believe we need to renegotiate the terms of our relationship. Half our empire is in rebellion," Nexer stated flatly. "Your demonstration has undermined 6,000 cycles of Crisian authority. The damage is extensive. Perhaps we can offer assistance," President Mitchell suggested. "Earth has considerable experience with political transitions and democratic governance. We could help establish more equitable relationships with your former subjects." Nexer's vertical pupils widened slightly. "You would help us after what we attempted." Dr. Reyes stepped forward. "We've analyzed your quantum communication technology. With some modifications, we could prevent the vulnerabilities we exploited. We're prepared to share this knowledge as a gesture of goodwill." "In exchange for what?" Nexer asked suspiciously. "Recognition of Earth's sovereignty and our right to determine our own future," President Mitchell said. "And perhaps trade agreements that benefit both our worlds," General Chen added, "and the immediate cessation of any forced labor programs throughout what remains of your empire." For several moments, Nexer was silent, calculating his options. Finally, he inclined his head. "It seems we have underestimated humanity's capabilities. Very well, we will negotiate new terms." 6 months later, the Galactic Cooperative was formed, an alliance of 28 species including humans and Crisians. Earth quickly became a diplomatic and technological hub, with Dr. Rice leading a new interspecies scientific exchange program. In the newly established Galactic Assembly on neutral territory near Alpha Centauri, President Mitchell addressed representatives from across the known galaxy. "The measure of an advanced civilization is not its capacity for destruction, but its willingness to collaborate, innovate, and respect the dignity of all sentient beings." Humanity doesn't seek to establish an empire, but to build partnerships. We don't desire subjects, but allies. After the assembly, Nexer, now serving as the Crisian representative to the cooperative, approached President Mitchell. "You could have destroyed us completely," he observed. "Many of your military advisors urged you to do so." "That would have made us no better than conquerors ourselves," she replied. "Besides, the universe is vast and likely full of dangers we haven't yet encountered. We'll all be stronger facing them together." As their delegation returned to Earth aboard humanity's first faster-than-light vessel, built with a combination of human ingenuity and adapted Crisian technology, General Chen gazed out at the stars. "You know what still amazes me," he said to Dr. Reyes. "They conquered 700 worlds with technology that had such an obvious flaw." "Not obvious to them," she replied. "They'd never faced a serious challenge, so they never had to innovate beyond their basic designs. That's the real lesson here. Without adversity, even the mightiest stagnate." The ship accelerated, leaving a brief rainbow-colored trail in space, a small homage to humanity's first victory against the stars, achieved not through superior firepower, but through creativity, cooperation, and the courage to face overwhelming odds with nothing but human ingenuity. Across the galaxy, the story spread of how a small blue planet of primitives had humbled the greatest empire ever known, not by destroying it, but by revealing its fundamental weakness and then helping it evolve into something better. It wasn't the last time humanity would surprise the cosmos, but it was perhaps the most spectacular. After all, nothing commands respect quite like making your would-be conquerors a galactic laughingstock, and then helping them rebuild their dignity.